5 things you'll love
You're
and
saying
hate
it like that.
about Ecuador. Right, Ella, do you want to see
Hi,
your...
doggies.
Yeah, great catchphrase there. Right, so we are in Peru, a far superior country to Ecuador. Nah, I'm only joking. We're going to talk about 5 things we love and hate about Ecuador. 5 things we love and 5 things that are mildly unpleasant.
Mildly, it was hard. It was hard actually to come up with.
Because we really enjoyed
5
it, but obviously in the YouTube algorithm, it's gonna
it's gonna be
a lot more helpful saying hate rap. You know what I mean? A catchy title isn't things that are kind of a bit annoying about Ecuador. So, but we've not told each other what ours are yet, so we're gonna see if we agree, right?
Yeah. We can maybe make it a bit of a drinking game actually. So if
We're drinking Pisco, by the way, the Peruvian brandy.
but it's Pisco Vargas, and everyone says that is deadly.
And by the way, because we're in Peru already, we're doing like overall hates of Ecuador, but we can include, because we spent most of our time in cities,
More
right?
specific things about like some cities. Yeah.
So we'll start with hates. So the first one is like danger, potential of getting robbed. Do you have that one?
No, I don't actually.
You don't have that one?
No, I didn't feel danger.
I know,
I
but,
didn't feel danger.
but like on a couple of occasions, people said like you're gonna get robbed here. Be
Yeah, there
careful.
was. I just didn't think that it was an issue enough to put it down.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But
I do think that's a fair one.
I put danger, and like I think because South America is so class, like I think most cities we do this. I'm gonna have to put danger just to fill one up because there isn't much bad about it, and it's just it's just a lot more dangerous than Europe.
It is more dangerous, but I think it's good to be wary, but it's not as bad. Like obviously there's parts, but
I would never let the danger put you off, but yeah, it's definitely something to be wary of, and it is like you never go to Madrid and just someone be like you're gonna get robbed, by the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's just a much higher crime rate, especially down on the coast, like Guayaquil, Esmeraldas, because of like narco-terrorism stuff. It is just more dangerous.
Yeah,
so
we don't go there.
that is just but in an overall thing about Ecuador, that is just a fact. So yeah, I would say that. But
okay, I think that's a fair one. My one kind of is a little bit to do with that, but I put the buses. Simply, I think they're really cheap. They're great because you can go like really far and for basically no money. But they often, well, for us, they took a lot longer than they said they were gonna. And this probably isn't so much about the buses, but there was hardly any information about how to get places online, so you can easily get lost and end up stranded in a dangerous area like we did.
So you're kind of talking about buses outside of the cities, not like city buses, but
yeah, well, we didn't really get on any city buses, did we?
Yeah, occasionally, and they were quite good. But
the buses to get elsewhere, like when we went to Quilatoa, it took way longer. Oh no, did it?
Yeah, they all took longer apart from the one to Peru.
But yeah, exactly. And then the one to
Cuenca.
The one that we tried to get to the baths, like we got to a place where there was a bus stop. Then somebody was like, "No, you can't go here." But that was a place I had researched it loads, and there's just not really any information. You can easily get lost, but
yeah.
People are always helpful, so that was my one.
There was loads of like conflicting information, but that part, I think a lot of that correlates with safety as well, right? Because none of that would be that bad if the safety wasn't an issue, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so
that's why I said it kind of links with your one.
When we got off the bus in that first place on the outskirts of Quito, and we were going to the baths, and it was in a posh area, we didn't fucking care about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you could get let off somewhere random. If it wasn't so unsafe, then it wouldn't be an issue, but it didn't feel.
I think that links. Have you got one about? I'm just guessing. I've not got this. But have you got one about like transport and traffic and stuff, or busyness or something?
Kind of.
Right. What's that one?
Where are we going next? Okay. Well, I said just city size, which was more about Quito because we could just walk everywhere in Cuenca. But one of mine was city size, but that was more because you had to get a taxi if you were trying to go somewhere. There was nowhere really that was like just walkable distance.
It's huge. Yeah.
So if you wanted to go somewhere, you have to get a taxi, or you could get a bus. But the taxis are so cheap that we just did that.
Yeah. So Guayaquil, we didn't go there, but Guayaquil's like slightly smaller land-wise than Quito, but much more population, or a little bit more population. But yeah, I think that can be a common one as well. Like the sheer size of some Latin American cities compared to European ones is just ridiculous. So like I think that links in with buses and stuff as well. Somewhere like Chile, Santiago in Chile, for example, they've got a really good metro, so you don't notice it being so big because you can just get a metro underground. But in Quito, everything is overland, so it's like it can be the size of it you do notice. It takes a long time to get places, but yeah, I think most people, if they're going to go to Ecuador, you're right, are going to go to Quito at some point, and that is one negative.
Definitely, I think it is a negative, but it was also then made Cuenca just feel so nice because
I think they're linked
everywhere.
I think you're one about buses and that are linked together though, right? Because like it's almost.
Well, so that's one.
Well, no. I think they're two. I agree, but I'm saying they're a similar thing because it takes ages to get city to city. It takes ages to get around a big city. They're kind of a similar. I'm not trying to slag off your list, but I'm just saying they are like a similar thing. But I should have had traffic in that and transport in it, I think.
Oh, so you didn't have either of those?
No, well, I had danger, which is kind of related to the buses and stuff, I guess, because danger one is also linked to buses, right? Like one of the annoying things about long haul buses there is you've got to be worried about your bags, people stealing them, because that's the most
exactly. That's why I said it was kind of linked to the safety thing as
So
well.
one of my other ones, I'm actually interested to see if you got this. I was proud of myself for remembering this. Is like the paying for stuff and they've never got change and you can't pay by card.
I've got that.
You've got that?
Yeah, I said like the payment, because now so here in Mancra it's kind of weird because you can pay by card for a lot of stuff, which I didn't expect.
And in Lima as well, which is just like the equivalent of Quito, right?
Yeah, but in a lot of Ecuador, like you couldn't pay by card most places, but they have these like kind of like I don't even know how to.
There are these apps that are like an equivalent of Uber, but like you transfer people money, like they're bank transfer apps. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, but you can't like sign up for it as a foreigner, so you have to have like an ID card and a bank account in Ecuador.
And a phone number.
But everywhere basically you can pay by that. But then it's not that bad because you can just get cash out. But then the issue is that there's no places don't have change.
The relevancy to that is that like, you know, like so if you go somewhere, like say you go in like a Lima market, they don't have. They're only cash regardless of whether you're from Peru or you're foreign, right? So that means when you give them cash, they have change. Whereas in Ecuador, it's like all the locals pay by this app, and then you give them a 20 and you need $3 change. And they have to go and. So when we were trying to get back to classes, it was like, fucking hell, like it takes 5 minutes to eat, and then it takes 10 minutes for them to go and get money out. So that was a bit of a pain in the arse. And yeah, the fact that they didn't, because they've got that modern system where you have to be from there to pay online, but we couldn't do that, and often they didn't have change, especially in local areas. In the La Carolina city centre,
there was no issue there. But it's just, you think that because you can we're like, oh, we're sorted, we can just get cash out. We went to that Banco Internacional,
which is
you can get
free
cash
withdrawals
out for free as a foreigner, but then there's still like an issue with the change, but it wasn't too bad.
It was fine, and
most
again,
places just go to the next door shop to get some change.
We're clutching at straws here for hates, but like that was one mild, like irritable thing, maybe 3 times. So again. Right, what's your next one then?
My next one was the weather, which did you have that?
I've got the weather. Yeah, again,
I put the weather, but
stretching
only because
as a general rule.
Yeah, as a general rule, but we were obviously in Spain for a few months before we came, so I was really excited for like the cooler weather. But the thing with like the high altitude and stuff is that you go out, it's like quite grey, it's not that hot, so you wear like jeans and stuff, and then you go out and actually the sun is so hot.
Yeah.
So it ends up you wear like clothes that you think you should for like a kind of mild day, and then it's fucking roasting. So that's the only reason I put the weather.
Yeah, for me the weather, like I love the weather, right? But I put the weather as like a general thing because I think a lot of people, if they came on holiday to Ecuador,
they would want the sun.
They would want the Pacific weather, right? So if you go to the cities, it's gonna be cloudy a lot. It's gonna rain a bit, never like that heavy. And it's still going to be hot and like sweaty and stuff. So yeah, I put the weather because nothing to do with my own judgment, just because I know that's...
I tried to think about why I would think the weather, and it wasn't because I didn't like the grey. It was more because of the heat, actually, for me.
It's this like, so basically like in Spain it was like, you know, before we left the south of Spain, Andalusia, it was like early 30s, maybe mid 30s, like every day. But for example, in Quito, you're talking late teens, early 20s, and the UV was like 3 or 4 more, so you're way more likely to get burnt. It was this weird paradox because of how close you are to the equator and stuff like that. But yeah, I think the weather is a good one to have for people if they're thinking about going. But for me, it's great, man.
Yeah, I liked it, but it was also, I would just dress for like an autumn day, and then it would be fucking roasting.
Yeah, well, I brought my jeans to Spain from Scotland specifically for Ecuador, and I think I wore them like once or twice just because it was too hot. We'll both have altitude, no?
Oh yes, altitude. I've got altitude.
So both have, I guess that's kind of, but the 2 most visited cities in Ecuador are Quito and Cuenca, right? Like they're the two most popular cities to visit. Also, the Kilo Tour Loop, which we hiked, is like one of the most like popular things to do as well. And all of these are an incredible altitude, right? So you might feel dizzy, you might feel sick, you're going to feel sleepy 100%, and
so
there's a high likelihood that you're going to get the shits as well. The altitude is intense, right?
Yeah, and when we first got there, I was like, oh, I don't really notice much at all. But then it's just when you're doing like normal stuff, like getting dressed or going up the stairs, you just feel it. Whereas like if you're actually like doing something that needs activity, like when we went to the gym, I was expecting it to be really hard, but you expect for that to be hard.
You expect your heart rate to be high.
Yeah. Everyday things that you notice.
But yeah, just as like
knackered as well.
Like the highest official capital city in the world is Quito, right? And it was it 2850 meters, right? I think was the official statistic. You get the cable cars are even higher. I think Bolivia has one capital that's higher, but it's not technically a capital city. But like it's the highest capital city in the world essentially. You've got a handful of cities in general higher than it, so it is intense. We went to Cuenca thinking this is going to be like more chill because it's lower down and you're only a couple hours from the coast, but Cuenca is actually only like what 2,500, 2,600 meters.
2,500, I think.
And then we noticed. Well, I noticed because Ella was asleep. But when we got the bus to Peru and we went down to the coast, it was like a vertical, like you just go down like that. So Cuenca is still very high up, even though you're only a couple hours from the coast.
Yeah.
So
I did actually notice. Like we were obviously in Quito for a month, but I actually think I did notice an easier breathing in Cuenca. I think I did. I might have been imagining.
I definitely didn't, but like I did start to find like Quito easier for certain things, and I started to find Cuenca easier for certain. So it does get better, and then like we've come down to sea level, and like we were just way fitter. So like there is positives.
There is,
there is and it was good for like I'm someone who always struggles to sleep. And I didn't struggle once in Ecuador just because we were so active and I was just fucked the whole time. I think I've got one more.
I'm done because we had this.
I had Traveler's Belly as well.
Is that not in with it? No. Oh, because of the food. But then, is that not just the same for any like? That's not specific to Ecuador, is it?
No, but like neither is Danger or whatever, or buses probably. But like I'm just saying, for like, if someone wants to travel to Ecuador from America, then you're going to mention that, aren't you?
Yeah, that's true.
So I just mean if you're used to like a European diet or an American diet, and you come and you want to enjoy all the local foods, which is like one of the best things about Ecuador, then you are going to need to shit yourself like a lot.
Yeah.
So that's just one thing, and that is obviously common, I'd say, across South America.
The thing though with it is you don't feel unwell. You just have watery shits, and that's okay. And
it's not not to get too vulgar here. It's not the wateriness for me. It's the I'm out whistling, enjoying myself. I'm going to shit myself right now. I need nothing more than a toilet right now. Like if someone offered me $1 million and a shit, I would choose a shit. Do you know what I mean?
I haven't had it that bad this time. I had it way like that when we were in Peru last summer. But this time I've not had that intensity. I've had pretty worry.
Maybe you've remained like almost accustomed to it a bit. But basically, Ella's right. That is true just for any South American country, almost any South American country you visit, but especially like maybe some of the poorer ones. But I thought I'd put that in there because like a lot of people might travel to Ecuador and not travel anywhere else, or travel to Ecuador for the first time and not first time in South America, and that is something you'll notice.
I have actually seen before like people talking about like not eating street food and stuff because like of the safety or like the hygiene of the food, where we eat everything.
No, but like,
and we're absolutely fine. We maybe get the shits a little bit, but that's just our belly.
I'm sorry, that is for fannies, because like if you don't eat like street food might be more sanitary than the kitchen. Like you don't know what the kitchen's.
Yeah.
If you want to go around and try local, like budget-friendly food, what the locals eat, then you're going to get a little bit ill. Some people might have a stronger stomach than others, but like not eating street food's going to do fuck all for you. My point is, you're going to get the shits. Right, love. What's your first love?
The obvious one that we're both going to have is the food, right?
Yeah, I've got the food, but I didn't think that was the most obvious one.
Well, the most obvious that we would both have, I think.
Okay, so you've gone food. So what was your favourite food?
Favourite food, I think, encebollado.
Encebollado, yeah, I like the chicharron. I liked all the food. It's also just completely, like the food's good in any part of the city. It's always good value. I also had food. I had food/coffee. That was a bit of a cheat.
I had food/bakeries.
Oh, okay, bakeries as well. Yeah, but bakeries are foods. So
yeah, exactly.
my one's a bit more of a cheat, but in parts of like the cheaper parts of Quito, it's difficult to find good coffee, but in Cuenca it was easy. But when you do find good coffee, the coffee's really nice.
Yeah, well, there's just anywhere you go, there's 100 bakeries. They all just have like unbelievable fresh bread and like sweets and stuff.
And we spoke about like Peru being this like really diverse country. Like so is Ecuador, which means they've got all these exotic fruits. They've got seafood. They've got like Andean fruits, Andean meat. So they've got everything here, right?
And they love their juice.
Yeah, the juice as well. But that's part of like the exotic fruits and stuff, right? But that brings me on to the one I had, which would be like the nature and stuff, right?
Yeah, I have that too.
Because like obviously when we did the hike, this insane just empty like mountainous Andes range, right, with barely anything there.
But it's so you're just there instantly as well. Like if you're in Quito, you go like 5 minutes on the bus and you're in the like mountains.
You're in this like
insane.
metropolis, this huge city with just like concrete jungle, but you can find like a park that's like you can do a 14-kilometer walk in the middle of the city and stuff like that.
Oh right, well that was one of mine too.
Yeah, the nature, right?
The nature, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. That.
Mine is parks.
Oh right, parks in the cities, okay. That's fine, but the nature. But
that's kind of different.
One thing that I actually read about earlier was that there's actually a category of country called like a mega diversity or something like that, and there's only
mega diversity.
A mega diverse country, and there's only 17 in the world, and obviously the majority are in South America because, like for example, Peru, Ecuador, Venezuela, they all have the Amazon rainforest.
Okay, so
the Andes, a Caribbean tropical like coast. Right, so they all have, and then like they have islands as well. So like the Ecuador's got the Galapagos as well. So it's like 4 different ecosystems in one country.
That's crazy.
Different, but if you look at like the mega diverse countries, it's like Peru, Ecuador, Venezuela, Colombia. But like, and then you start moving over to Asia and stuff. But basically, part of the nature, apart from the views and stuff like that, as well as like all the wildlife, right? They've got like I think it's like 20% of species to exist on the planet are all in Ecuador, and it's like a pretty small country, do you know what I mean? So the nature's pretty insane.
Yeah, I think I had like nature, countryside / hikes.
Oh, in the same one.
In the same one, yeah. So as well as all like the nature, obviously the hiking is class. We didn't even do a tiny bit of it. There's like we didn't go to like Mindo, which is meant to be really
I had
cool as well.
one of my other ones was like adventures, and like we never didn't do much of that, but people go to Baños and do like crazy stuff.
You can go and do like loads of outdoor adventurous stuff.
I mentioned like the Galapagos. People go up and like swim in waterfalls, kayaking, all this stuff. So there's a bunch of crazy stuff you can do in Ecuador for sure. Yeah.
But the hiking as well, like that. Like we obviously Quito is like one of the
most famous ones.
The most like the most touristy one. But I'd imagine there's loads of other hikes that are less touristy. And just as good.
So that kind of combined mine.
That's
so
2.
I have 2 more. We've both got prices and the cost of stuff, right?
Well, yeah, but I didn't so much do that, like the prices, cost of stuff in general. I said free / cheap activities of great value.
What do you mean by that?
So like when we were in Cuenca, we could go to like all the free art galleries. Then when we were in Quito, like all of the activities we did, like going up the cathedral and going to the Mitad del Mundo.
Cable
it's
cars?
all just so cheap. The cable cars.
Yeah, cable cars are quite expensive.
Okay. Well.
No, they are cheap, but like I think by Ecuadorian standards, I don't like some of the, like I thought the free art galleries. I had that as a separate one, like museums and history stuff. I thought that was all in Cuenca especially. That was insane.
But like the Mitad del Mundo, it was like a $5 for us both.
Yeah.
How much could you get from that?
No, I thought that was good, but I just thought something like maybe you're right in general. But I don't. Was the cathedral that cheap? Was it not? It was only like $8 each.
Was it? The one in Cuenca was really cheap.
Yeah, the one in Cuenca was. Yeah, you're right. But I think
a lot of it's really cheap. I said like the things to do, where you might think that they would bump the prices up a lot because they're touristy things. I felt like they weren't bumped up that much.
Yeah, I thought they were bumped up a little bit, but yeah, in general, I would just say they're cheap. The country's cheap in general. That's why I had down like an almuerzo was like a starter and a main and a juice, and you get a great one consistently for under $3. So you're talking under £2 for lunch. I thought like even like in Cuenca we stayed opposite like a fruit shop and a bakery. Like I couldn't believe like I'd go over with a tenner and be like, oh, I hope this will be enough, and it would be honestly under $3.
Yeah.
So I agree. I do agree with you in general. I just thought a couple of things were a bit like as expensive as I would expect in Europe, like the cable cars and stuff, for example. But like, I think the prices of things in general is like a good barometer, right? And same with buses, right? We only got the bus on one day when we were coming back from La Carolina, but it was like 25 cents a ride. Quite nice buses. The taxis and the Ubers are so cheap.
Yeah, that is a good thing about. So we obviously talked about how Quito's so big. But a good thing is that you can easily get around in a taxi without even having to get on the buses.
Yeah. For
so cheap.
And
probably cheaper than getting a bus in Glasgow.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And Ella kind of spoke about getting in museums and stuff for free. I had that as well, and yeah, I just thought that was good to put as a separate one because they basically let you into all these quite famous art galleries. Cuenca's got a really famous like historical past with like medicine and stuff, and you can just go and see all this stuff for free. We were just speaking there about getting long Ubers for cheap. I didn't have this one on my list, so I just thought of it now as like a bonus one. Like their Spanish is very clear as well. I post that video about learning Spanish, right? Ecuadorian Spanish, especially in the mountains, is quite like easy to understand. So I think that's a good one to have.
Extra one.
I think that's all of them, right?
No.
Oh, sorry. What have you got?
I've still got 2. I've got stalls. The stallage.
What do you mean?
Like just
explain, man. Stallage.
Stallage. No, when you like you just go out and there's just always people selling stuff on the street. You just like, and it's always really good food and stuff as well. So cheap.
Yeah. Okay. So like.
But I kind of combined that with the parks because that was one of my other ones.
Okay.
The parks in Ecuador, like we obviously only really went to 2 cities. But like Quito had insane parks where there was just like, we went on a Saturday, like just before we left, and there was like just stalls all the way along, like insane food. There was like a big thing where you could hire boats and like go on this little like
in La Carolina,
yeah, in La Carolina. And then there was the other park, like the big huge one where we went on like a little hike.
Yeah.
There was the one close to us as well that was really nice, and like I went.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was talking about the other one.
Oh, Parque de Inglés.
Yeah. But I went there in the morning before, and like there was just loads of people doing like those dance classes, and like they were selling food and stuff. It was just.
I think that's a good one to bring because it links to like one that we both probably should have but didn't, but like just how friendly the people were and stuff as well, right? And I think there's always that culture, loads of food getting, like they're all doing like little classes in the park. How friendly the guy was in the gym. And,
yeah.
So I think that's
shout Ugo.
Like in an unfriendly country, they wouldn't be. You wouldn't have guys or old women dancing in the park. You know what I mean? So I think that's indicative of that.
Yeah, maybe it made us feel a little bit safer actually.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I think like that's a good point with the safety thing because the reason we didn't get robbed is because people told us it was unsafe before someone robbed us.
Always.
And of course,
somebody to help you out.
Like I'm sure there's more crime overall in Ecuador than there is in like Glasgow, for example. But no one's telling you you're about to get robbed in Glasgow. They're just letting it happen, right?
A really good example of that is when we were walking along this like really dangerous street, and the school bus stopped to let us on, gave us a lift.
And they stopped, and a guy stopped to explain to us that you stand there, don't go. And so, like, we're lucky that people who know the area and know this part is unsafe told us it was unsafe, right? And although like Barcelona is a safer city, if you're walking down the unsafe bit of the Ramblas,
nobody's telling you. They're just looking at you like.
No, they're putting their head down and being like, "I'm not getting near that guy."
They're gonna.
So I think that's a good one, but. I joked at the start just because we've been to Peru before and we love Peru, right? But we love Ecuador as well. We need to go back.
I have a special mention. I have a special one that I want to talk about.
I've got a special hate. So shall I say that first?
Yeah.
It wasn't a hate that we had to deal with because it was absolutely fine. But after I booked this, I was speaking with an online tutor who was teaching me Spanish, and she told me that they were having blackouts all the time, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they've built hydro dams here, and that's how they work their electricity or whatever. And basically, in their rainy season, there was no rain, and they had like full-on blackouts, not just Wi-Fi. Like there was no light for like an entire dry season, no wet season because it happened. Whatever, I can't remember which way around it was, but whatever. There is a potential that can happen because of the way their system's laid up, but it was fine for us.
We had no issues.
Basically, I read about this after we'd booked everything, and I got really worried because that's how we earn our money, but it was fine. But I would just make sure you double check that before we leave because there's a lot of political unrest here, and Yeah, it's unclear whether that's going to come back again because the people I spoke to weren't sure about it. But that was a legitimate thing for like 3 months. They had no light when it was dark, which is quite a scary thing.
Especially if you need to make your money off that.
Especially it adds to the crime idea as well, though. Can you imagine going out, like we stayed in quite not like rough and ready, but it was a very friendly part of Quito, but we would have felt a lot less safe if there was no street lights.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, what was your good thing?
My special mention for good things is there's this yogurt place.
Oh, fuck's sake, you loser, man.
There's this place that does frozen yogurt, right, and it's 100% natural yogurt. You just get to add all your toppings. I love you. It's called Green Frost or Green Lands. I'm not sure. I think it's like a franchise thing, right?
You know, like in the UK, like the person like takes over their own subway and they get all the same ingredients. It's like that, but they change the name.
Yeah,
right? So it's Green Lands or Green Frost, depending on what city you're in.
So in Quito it's Green Lands. In Cuenca it's Green Frost. But oh my god, we must have had like 20 plus. Oh my god.
But Ecuador, we loved it, right? We'll go back for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We need to go to the Galapagos.
Yeah, it is expensive though.
But Peru.
That's maybe another hidden negative. It's the same with in Peru. Going to Machu Picchu is extortionate.
Exactly.
Because you have all these other, like we're going to Argentina soon and Brazil and Paraguay and Uruguay for cheaper than it would be to go to the Galapagos or Machu Picchu, right? So that's part of one of those famous tourist things. Can be a bit of a pain in the arse to do, but if it's up to you if you want to do it, we're not
maybe one day if we get rich or something, but not today. Bye, doggies.
Bye.
Oh, this is horrendous, man. Why the fuck did we agree to do this?
Fuck off.
Oh, it's just so much worse than going up.